Hello leaders. Welcome back to another video version of my daily podcast, Run to Your Leadership Challenges. And today we're covering episode number 355. And we're closing out the week. Well, there's tomorrow, the weekend edition, but this is the Friday edition of this week, and we're covering leadership game changers. That's what we've been covering all week. And today we're going to talk about the leadership game changer of conflict, which happens to be one of my favorite topics, okay? That's what I love to do. I consider it my specialty, and I love working with teams that have conflict. So I'm going to hit the record button, and I'm going to give you some extra value at the end. Again, this is the video version where I am recording the daily podcast. So you're going to see all the bloopers because I don't edit the video unless there's a major snafu in the middle. But for the most part, I just record and post these to YouTube. To get a crisper, cleaner 3 to 4 minute episode, you might want to check out the YouTube or the iPods or iTunes, the podcast version. iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all of those. Just about anywhere you can get a podcast, you can download it. All right, I also share them on all my social media accounts, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, so you can check them there as well. So here we go. I'm hitting the record button, and we will get on after it. Hello, leaders, and welcome to another episode of Run to Your Leadership Challenges. So this week, we've been talking all about leadership game changers, or the things that may be really good or really bad for your team. Specifically, we've been talking about what actions you can take as a leader to ensure that your game changers help your team in a positive manner. Today, I want to talk about one of the biggest game changers that I know of, and that is conflict. Now, when most people think about conflict as a game changer, they automatically think about a really bad game changer, right? I mean, lack of productivity, low productivity, fighting, morale loss, all that stuff, retention issues. And to tell you the truth, that's because a large portion of leaders just don't like conflict, and they try to avoid it as much as possible. Man, I've seen leaders work extremely hard to avoid conflict at all costs. I've seen them work harder to try to get through the conflict itself than to, they've been dodging work and, putting in all time. I've seen them put in all kinds of time and effort into trying to figure out how to avoid the conflict. And quite frankly, most of the times, if they would have just faced their conflict head on in the beginning, they probably could have resolved it immediately with little effort at all. So you see, conflict can be a negative game changer for a team if it's not managed properly. That's the bottom line. The one thing about conflict is it rarely goes away on its own. Sure, it may be able to be swept under the rug. Now, sure, it may be able to be swept under the rug for a little while, but you know what? It always seems to show up. It always seems to show up and show off its ugly face in the worst possible times. Conflict has a way of ruining the best laid out plans. And the sad part is usually the conflict that arises is the conflict that wasn't addressed at an earlier time. So to set you up for success, here are just a few tips to help you make your conflict a game changer in a positive manner. First of all, you have to recognize that conflict exists with everyone involved. Now, I know this sounds a little bit ridiculous, but bring everyone together who's involved and openly recognize the conflict. Make it a public statement and give it a name if you need to. But conflict is ugly, and it needs to be brought into the public so everybody admits it, everybody sees it, everybody recognizes it for what it is. Next, tell everyone that you are going to work through it and make it clear of the collateral damage the conflict is having on communication, relationships within the organizations, Maybe it might include productivity issues, customer satisfaction, retention, morale. Tell them how bad it's affecting or impacting their pay. That'll get their attention. And anything else that you can directly tie to the negative conflict. Next, establish ground rules for the people involved in a conflict. This may be as simple as saying no yelling when we're here discussing this, or no interrupting each other when somebody else is speaking. Maybe you can say that they cannot begin a sentence with anything about somebody else. Maybe they got to begin a sentence with something like "I feel" statements. Man, "I feel" statements goes a long way in handling conflict. Next, focus on the problem, not on the people involved. You see, conflict is a problem. And it might be opinions, it might be all this other stuff, but conflict itself is usually one problem. So focus on that problem. Don't attack the people. Stick to the facts and eliminate opinions. Determine exactly what the problem is, not who has the problem. Next thing you want to do is you can determine common ground that both sides have and highlight that. By recognizing commonalities, both sides can begin to see both sides can begin to see the other side as a partner or a friend. You know, no matter how much conflict both sides have, they usually have one common thing. You can always usually find one common thing. Take our politics, for example. Both the Democrats and the Republicans, man, they seem to hate each other right now, right? But if you ask both of them to focus on some commonalities amongst the two sides, I mean, how about a better America? How about taking care of the people? I bet they can both agree on that. The same thing for your team or your people who are having conflict. They have common issues that you can bring up to their attention, and they can start seeing themselves as a real person. Finally, focus on the interests and not specific positions. Each side has a specific interest, okay? And a lot of times these interests aren't much difference from both sides. So when you focus on the interests, a lot of times you can determine where these interests may overlap a little bit, and that's a good thing. If you could do all these things, you are well on your way to turning your negative conflict into a positive learning event, a positive game changer. And that's where you want to be. Conflict gives you opportunity to excel where you weren't excelling before. And that's always a game changer. Oh yeah, one more thing. As a mediator in conflict, it's ultra important that you remain neutral. Your goal is to guide the two sides to a mutual agreement. Ask lots of open-ended questions, but be cautious about offering your opinions and advice, because as soon as you start doing that, then you start showing some kind of side. And if they accept your solution, it's not their solution. The more that they can come up to an agreement on their own through your guidance, the more open that they will be to accepting the overall solution. It will be their solution, not yours, and that'll be a long-term solution. Hey, as always, thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day, and please join us tomorrow for the weekend edition. Until then, run to your challenges. Okay, man, that was long. So I'm going to edit a lot of that out. I got 7.5 minutes, I think, and I'm going to have a hard time editing that down. But here's a couple of bonus tips. Man, conflict is everywhere. I have never, ever gone into an organization and asked who doesn't have conflict and have people raise their hands, because conflict is going to occur, all right? Whenever you bring two people together, I don't care who those two people are, they're going to have conflict. They're going to have some conflict. So the more that you can develop your skills at conflict management, the better that you can be at managing your people. And when you can eliminate your negative conflict, which that's what I love to work with teams with, but when you can eliminate that negative conflict, your morale goes up. Your retention automatically goes up because now people are happier. Your overall job satisfaction goes up because now people feel like they're a part of the team. They feel like they got allies at work. Your productivity is going to go up. Your communication is going to go up. Your relationships at work are going to be up. And it just makes for a lot better environment at work. So, go back and re-listen to this if you need to. I've offered up quite a few tips, and if you want to hear more, just reach out to me. I'm easily accessible. You can call me at 501-743-5614. That's my personal cell phone. I will answer it. If I don't answer it, if I don't recognize the number, or if I'm on another call, just leave a message. I'll call you back. I promise. And you can also email me at Paul Grau, that's PaulGrau, at currentleadershipcoaching.com. That's it. Hey, have a great rest of your day, and until tomorrow, run to your challenges.